Yo, how's it going everybody? It's me, Arctic. Today's video we're going to be going over a complete weapons guide for Yunjin, basically talking about her best weapons that we can actually use with her, each of the weapons and why they're actually going to be pretty decent on her, and then we're also going to be just generally discussing like how to actually choose weapons for Yunjin. Anyway, if you are new to the channel, remember to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. We're making some pretty good progress and it really helps me out a lot if you guys do. But anyway, let's get back to the video. Okay, and so basically a few things to keep in note about Yunjin is that she is a Geo polearm character, and most of her damage is actually going to scale off of her defense. What's interesting about her elemental skill is that she's actually a Geo Beidou, and so she has a hold ability where she can basically hold her elemental skill, charge it up, gain some stacks basically, and then she's going to release all that damage out, and it's actually based on her defense percent. And so basically we're going to be looking for weapons that are either going to factor in with that or factor in with her kit in general potentially and see how good they're actually going to be. But also another interesting thing is that one of Yunjin's passives also makes it to where the amount of damage that you're actually going to be getting, I think, from her actual damage is going to be increased by like a certain amount based on like if you have like 4 alternate element characters in your team. Basically, if you have a full Geo team comp, you're not going to be getting as much viability out of that passive. But yeah, basically here's the passive talent right here. The normal attack damage bonus granted by her ult is actually going to increase that damage based on like 11.5% of Yunjin's defense if you do have those 4 elemental types. So she does definitely work more so in a like multi-element team comp. So in fact, she's actually one of the more viable Geo characters, I think, in my opinion. Okay, so we're at a bit of a conundrum because there's not actually a defense scaling weapon in the game. If there was, that would probably end up being like Yunjin's best in slot weapon. Hopefully they add one because I really want to use her as more so of like a support potentially, getting that like extra like team damage boost, using her as like a kind of alternate Beidou in a way. What weapons that we do actually have access to, we've got like Blackcliff Polearm. Blackcliff Polearm's a pretty solid option overall. But this is more so if you are going for like crit damage. But the passive isn't really going to factor in with anything, so I would stray away from this weapon. It's not really that viable on her. Deathmatch is probably a pretty decent option just because of that crit rate bonus. You're actually going to be getting a lot of crit bonus off of that, but it's also, its passive right here is going to give you that defense percent bonus if there's enemies basically near you. And so that's like 16% defense, but you do actually have to have those 2 enemies near you at a certain time, and otherwise if you don't have 2 enemies actively near you, this isn't gonna give you like any defense. Use Dragon's Bane, and Dragon's Bane might actually be a pretty decent option for her, especially if you have some of Yunjin's higher constellations. I know her constellation 4 actually gives her like more benefits if you do actually create like crystallized shields or something, and so this might actually be pretty decent with that. It also increases your damage against opponents affected by Hydro or Pyro, so if you are running her with Hydro or Pyro characters, the amount of damage she's going to do could be scaled off of that, so it's pretty alright. Lithic Spear is probably an okay option for her, however, like all of her damage doesn't really come from attack, and so like having high attack isn't really going to matter too much on her. Vonius Lance is probably an okay option for her as well. Basically, it's just going to give you some extra energy recharge so you can have her burst uptime up pretty irregularly. It does cost 80 on her burst, so this is going to be very nice, especially if you're going for just like uptime on her abilities, which I would highly recommend. The Katang Cross Spear might actually be a pretty decent option also, basically just helping with that energy economy, increasing your elemental skill damage. I know it's going to be basically kind of similar to how running one of these on a beta would be. The catch isn't really that viable on her just because she doesn't really do burst damage. She's mainly a support. Same thing with Wavebreaker's Fin, like these 2 weapons aren't very viable on her. Vortex Vanquisher isn't really that great of an option just because her kit doesn't really focus around attack at all, and so its passive is practically useless with her. Primordial Jadewing Spear is probably a way better option just because of that crit rate bonus you're getting. You're going to be able to crit more often, and also it's going to give you that damage bonus as soon as you get to these maximum stacks, so it's an alright weapon. I would probably stray more towards a Skyward Spine as being a better option just because of its energy recharge, and it's also its crit rate bonus is going to be pretty nice right here. And then these vacuum blades that you create are actually going to be pretty okay as well if you are planning on doing a few auto attacks with her also. Probably going to be a good option on her as well. It's basically going to give you all that big amount of crit damage, and that's pretty much it about that. Engulfing Lightning is probably going to be a okay option also. Like, I would say like Skyward Spine is still probably her best in slot, I would say. But you do get a lot of energy recharge off of this, so really we're going for like energy recharge stats and nothing much beyond that. So Engulfing Lightning and Skyward Spine, I think, are probably going to be our best weapons just in general. Basically it for Yunjin. Yunjin's kit's kind of weird. If you do want to use her like as a damage dealer, like I would recommend going like defense percent on most of your stuff. However, you probably could also build her just for like attack percent, but it's like there's not really a point. Like she's a very weird character to where like you're definitely wanting to use her just as a support. She's not really a main DPS whatsoever. And yeah, there's just not really too many good options other than like energy recharge weapons in the game, just to keep her like burst uptime up, you know. But anyway, if you guys liked the video, remember to subscribe. But anyway, it's been me, Arctic. I'll see you guys next time. Farewell.